So, most of my articles and videos have been critiques of the games I've been playing because the things that piss me off are easier to explain than the things that don't. But in the holiday spirit, I've compiled a very quick look at the very best games I've played this year, as well as a brief explanation of why they work so well for me. As always, if you like what I have to say, or how I sound saying it, do the like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Here we go. Dead Cells. I love permadeath roguelike light games. I love them so much that I'll spend as much time with an only good one like Tower of Guns or Ziggurat as I will with most AAA games in any given year. So first up on this year's list is one of my very favorites of the year, and it's not even out of early access. Dead Cells has everything I love. The combat is fluid, it's based upon animation recognition, and like all great roguelikes, it's got combinations that mean almost certain victory for me. Recent updates have significantly polished an already fantastic game, and defeated enemies explode into bits of currency, XP, and gore. The game combines the deliberate combat of a Soulsborne with the particle effects of a Risk of Rain to produce a deeply satisfying combat experience. The pixel art is absolutely gorgeous, with level backdrops, enemy variety and design, and attack animations all weighty and beautiful and convincing. Bloodborne plus Risk of Rain divided by Castlevania equals Dead Cells. I cannot possibly recommend it enough. Hollow Knight. It was in my backlog far too long. Art design matters an awful lot to me, and you will not find better art design than what Team Cherry accomplished with this game. The ultimate compliment I can pay to a game is to say that I would continue buying and playing levels indefinitely, or that I'd take a sequel that was basically the exact same thing. And with Hollow Knight, I would. I can tell when a game's difficulty works for me when I get so angry and frustrated that my wife yells at me to stop playing and my answer is "fuck this game," but then I just keep playing. There is just enough depth in the builds and strategy that bosses and areas can be tackled in different ways if something is failing. The game has set rules, but enough charms and skills to bend them just enough to get by. Challenging combat and platforming, wonderful level design, perfect art and sound design, and captivating atmosphere combine to make one of the best Metroidvanias ever created. You know what? Fuck it. This is the best Metroidvania ever created. Pyre. Listen, the way the story is doled out can be frustratingly slow at times, and I bought it on PS4 only to realize that every fucking menu is designed for a mouse, and the game constantly puts you into dialogue trees that don't matter all that much and ultimately probably weren't really needed. But at the end of the day, the story is fantastic, and along with Rocket League, it's one of two games that have finally reimagined the sports genre enough to make it playable again for me. The game is just damn fun. Local co-op is so good that I'm convinced a larger studio could have made a very successful online mode. A must play. Prey. Believe it or not, this is the game that got me writing and making videos about games. This is the game that drove me to get started. And while that video never happened and probably won't ever now that Prey has faded into obscurity, I think it's important that I recognize this game and briefly explain why it made me start writing about games. I have never had a game change my mind so much. This game was so annoying to start. The early enemies are so very frustrating, the wrench combat is so very annoying, and the pace is so very slow that I was convinced I'd bought a terrible game. But about 6 hours in, Prey opens up. Powers and weapons that become available turn the game from a chore to a sandbox and deliver on the usual Arcane Studios promise of play your way. Art design, as always with Arcane, is fantastic, and the space station is simply a pleasure to explore and exist in. Text and audio logs are interesting and moving, environmental storytelling is off the charts, and even combat is fun once enough options are given to the player. The ability to recycle almost everything in the levels, from the usual crafting materials to couches and drum sets, means that nothing in the environment is pointless. And although the narrative hits some problems, ultimately ends up quite intriguing, if not groundbreaking. I think that 3 changes would have made this game a masterpiece. If the player character started the game with a full suite of weapons and neuromods and then lost them an hour in, if there was a larger variety in enemy types, and if the art design of those enemies was more interesting, the game would have been significantly better. You need to absolutely nail the creature design in your horror game, and Prey did not. But all of its problems aside, the game ended up criminally underrated, and it breaks my heart when a new interesting game fails. If you haven't played it, I implore you to go in knowing the first several hours won't impress, but once the game hits its stride, it works so well. Dark Blood Souls. Okay, so I generally don't replay games, and even if I do start replaying a game again, I almost never finish it. I have played Bloodborne and its DLC 8 times through. I'm on my 11th Dark Souls 1 run across 3 platforms, and I'm on New G plus 5 on DS3. I would pay From Software a $15 a month subscription for life if they would give me one Soulsborne level every 4 weeks. Soulsborne, in my opinion, is a near perfect experience. Wonderful art direction, perfect animations mean even the first game looks great to this day. The gameplay is just addictive, and the amount of build and combat variety on offer with only 2 attacks and a dodge is a mystifying triumph of design. Level and world design are quite literally as good as any game ever. I will never stop playing these games. Except Dark Souls 2, which I've only played twice. I hate that game, it's ugly, it's stupid, it's annoying, and it should be forgotten. Titanfall 2. Oh EA, my god, you suck. I'm not going to go into much detail here. Titanfall 2's campaign is the best AAA multiplayer shooter campaign in years, and the multiplayer got me addicted for several months. Titanfall 2 is not a game one can just pick up and play, however. The multiplayer gameplay is extremely deep, nuanced, and difficult. In fact, back when I was playing TF2 regularly, I almost always finished in the top 2 or 3 of each match, usually finishing first. Then I booted this up to get some footage for a video, and I literally had to play half a match to get a kill. I was mercilessly punished by folks who'd kept playing the game all this time. Between a movement system that's a weapon, all its own, and player speeds that border on absurd in the hands of a skilled player, Titanfall 2 asks a lot of the people who play it. But it's good enough that getting good is its own reward. I look forward to unlocking new, powerful Titan chassis and random loot boxes sometime in 2019. You suck so bad, EA. Fury. Everything that pisses me off about Cuphead is present in Fury. Ridiculous difficulty? Check. Insanely long boss fights that you'll have to play over and over and over to beat? Check. An easy mode that simply removes phases of the fight? Check. But Fury is one of the best games I played this year. So I'll be having an entire piece examining these 2 games against one another and explaining why I love one and I'm annoyed by the other. But for now, it's enough to simply say that Fury offers a new and interesting gameplay experience, beautiful graphics, enough of a story to keep me playing, fantastic music, and great art design. The boss fights are such a spectacle that just watching videos of them is enough to put me in a trance-like state. A must-play for anyone who doesn't mind difficulty or has roommates/family who will put up with Scream's curse words. Streets of Rogue. I can't even explain this game. It's a roguelite-like. It offers a silly amount of player freedom and a ridiculous group of characters and skills. It looks great, it makes me laugh, and it's a hell of a good time. I will be making a video about this one too. It's probably not for everyone, but if you like roguelikes, man, this one is different enough that it's a must-buy. Destiny. Yes, just Destiny. Listen, you probably hate Destiny. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise, because if you hate Destiny, it's likely the game just wasn't for you. But if you like grinding, loot-based games like Diablo, complex co-op raids like an MMO, and really tight shooters, then you loved Destiny 1. A game that appealed to a very specific group of players and then was marketed to everybody. I played 1,600 hours of Destiny over 3 years. Its RPG elements were too shallow, its loot pool too small, and it had so many stupid self-inflicted wounds I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain them. But at its core, man, this game was a fucking blast to play with 5 other people in a raid. I've got another video explaining why I fucking hate Destiny 2. By the way, I hate Destiny 2. The Witcher 3's DLC. Amazingly, I never got around to playing The Witcher 3's DLC until January of this year. The game is one of the greatest games ever made and features writing and characters better than the vast majority of films. A game that's mature not because you play as a bikini-clad paratrooper lopping off heads of brown people, but because it deals with things like love, hope, betrayal, guilt, fear, and loss. It's mature because it requires maturity to fully appreciate its beauty. The DLC alone is worth $60. If games were sold by value and Call of Duty is a $60 game, then The Witcher is a priceless work of art. I ended up playing the whole thing again, making it the rarest of games in my library. The Binding of Isaac, and Nuclear Throne and Enter the Gungeon. I've bought Isaac on 3 platforms because it's just that good. An all-time classic. It handles its difficulty so very well because at any time a run can go from a near impossible grind to a ridiculous insane synergy of destruction. Rare is the modern game that you don't play to finish, but just play to play. I play Isaac just to play Isaac. Honorable mention to Nuclear Throne and Enter the Gungeon, games that do the same thing for me, but just not quite as well. Final Fantasy 15. I got Final Fantasy 15 for Christmas last year. I'm not sure why I liked it as much as I did. The side quests were absolutely ridiculously stupid. The combat was extremely repetitive. The story actually feels like crucial parts were accidentally deleted from the download, and the overall narrative barely made sense. Its twist was literally not a twist. The villainous villain was so villainy I assumed he was actually not a villain, but nope, the twist is he totally was the villain. So, I really loved this game. I have no idea why. I don't recommend the game to anyone else. My analysis is that there is something wrong with me. Moving on. The 3 best games released in 2017 that I played. Number L. What Remains of Edith Finch. Listen, is this a game? I don't know. I do know that most of the play we do is either simulated fighting, simulated flighting, or simulated loving, and that once in a while I'm in the mood for something different. And those who insist that this is not a game have to deal with the fact that this is still interactive in a way that film and fiction are not. There's just enough gameplay here to keep the player invested, and it immerses the player in a world as well as any other game you'll play. In fact, I'd say one of the triumphs of the design is the nearly perfect balance Edith Finch strikes. Long cutscenes in other games have me putting the controller down. When those cutscenes are good, I don't mind. When they're bad, I'm annoyed, but either way, those are long periods of no interactivity at all. You are playing Edith Finch all the way through. You are very rarely passively watching the narrative, and it's a huge accomplishment to have figured out so many clever ways to engage the player. So what kind of game is it? It's more interactive than just a walking simulator, but it's not mechanically complex enough to really call it a puzzle game. Edith Finch is its own genre of game. Several of these vignettes moved me more than any other piece of art I engaged with this year. It's a masterpiece of storytelling and art design, and watching these vignettes simply wouldn't have been as powerful as playing these stories ended up being. I really can't give examples without spoiling what makes this game so great. Play it yourself if you haven't. It's a work of art first and a game second. It's beautiful, funny, moving, tragic, and it features the best score in a video game I have ever heard. Letter Diamond, Nier Automata. My next video will be my longest yet. This game actually requires you to play through 3 times, and I'm left wondering how many people saw the credits roll around 20 hours and thought, wow, yeah, that was pretty fucking good, and then never turned it on again. If you did that, then Platinum failed you. The second and third playthroughs absolutely hammer home the themes of the first hour until you are buried beneath a mountain of existential crises. Nier is a game about perspective that literally switches the player's perspective constantly. Nier is a game that's a lesson about what's actually important because by modern AAA gaming standards, it's not up to snuff. Invisible walls, reused assets, dated character models, lip syncing issues in that no lips actually move outside of cutscenes, all of those are present. And all of these things piss me off when they pop up in a Ubisoft game because without the spectacle of cutting edge graphics and resolution, those games fall apart. But Nier Automata demonstrates that those things are just icing. Would I love the next Nier game to look like Assassin's Creed when it comes to character models and lip syncing and invisible walls and resolution? Sure, but not if the trade-off is in art design, writing, combat mechanics, and animations. Nier goes from fun to good to great to all-time classic as it moves along, and by the end, you won't give two shits about the invisible walls or the PS1 style character models. That's how good the game is. Number T, Horizon Zero Dawn. If Nier Automata is how to do a AAA game on a budget, Horizon is how to do a AAA game with a AAA budget. I've got a 17-minute video detailing everything this game does well, which is everything. This game does everything well. Combat is absolutely perfect. Player movement is engaging. The map and art design are so stunning I took to calling it Screenshot the Game. The story is a simple hero's journey that engaged and enraptured my 11-year-old daughter, while the deeper themes found just beneath the surface and in the fantastic audio and text logs means the narrative works for a pretentious dude like me as much as for any 11-year-old girl or dude bro gamer. Guerrilla Games deserves a mountain of praise for its ability to craft a story that works for such a large audience. It takes serious craft to weave those narrative threads together to make it work. Most of all though, the game feels like every single thing is in there for a purpose. An open world game that feels meticulously crafted and laboriously designed is a rare gem. It takes the open world genre, keeps everything great, eliminates everything annoying, and then polishes it to a mirror sheen. An instant all-time classic and a game good enough to justify buying a PS4. That's it. Those are the games that came to mind when I sat down thinking about what I most enjoyed playing this year. Now, I'm sure I missed a few. My memory's going, and we'll see how much you remember when you're old. Or if you have some I didn't mention, comment down below. Either I'll tell you why I disagree, Persona 5, or I'll realize I forgot something, or hopefully you'll turn me on to something I should play. They don't have to be games released this year, just games you played this year. Up next, my outrageously long Nier analysis, followed by my piece dealing with Valve's removal of "You must be 18 or older to enter" from the Steam store. I hope to see you next time. Alright, I would love if you would watch my old videos. And if you watch those videos, I would be thrilled if you would like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you've done all of that, then it's clear you're a person who can be counted on, in which case, I have several large, real-world problems that need solving. The proper candidate for solving these problems will be independently wealthy, not very curious, trusting like a puppy, and have only a very hazy idea of how much money is in any one of their accounts at any particular time. Goodbye.